Hi there, welcome to another lap around the Nürburgring. We're just coming up to the start now. First corner is always a bit tricky, especially as I'm driving a car that I'm not totally used to. It's a Jaguar XJR 9. Just got around the first corner there, that was quite comfy. Now we're coming into sort of like not really a corner when you've got a car like this underneath you. You're getting up to 170 miles an hour in a very short period of time. But anyway, all these corners at the beginning of the Nürburgring are quite tricky and easy to mess a lap up right at the very start if you're not careful. So try my best here. Now we're on a bit of a straight before we come up to a kind of a double right. I normally drive a BMW M4. It doesn't have the grip that this one has. Obviously it's got a lot of downforce, and some of these corners where I have to brake and hang on tight in the M4, I can actually floor it like here. Just go for it. This one on the other hand is different. I have to be careful going around here. So the M4 is different in another way. In fact, it's left-hand drive, and this is a center cockpit, monocoque. So I'm not absolutely 100% sure yet where the sides of the car are, especially as it's a big car designed for Daytona and Le Mans, which are slightly different tracks because they're mostly straights and not a lot of turns in them. This has got a lot of turns. This is one of them coming up, which is quite tricky, but on this car again, I can go a lot faster around it with the M4 without losing any traction at all. That doesn't mean I can't come off the road. I'm hoping I won't, but it doesn't mean I can't. This is a tricky little area here. Pretty tight in this car. The car's 2 meters wide. It's got a V12 941 brake horsepower engine in it. So plenty of push to get us around these tricky bends, or start it again after we've got around them. And up the straights, of course, very fast compared to a BMW M4. This is a nice corner, but quite tricky again. Not sure if I can get around there without braking at all, because the thing with a faster car is you get to the corners a lot quicker and at a much higher speed. So really you need to be braking slightly different from what I've been used to. And when you brake differently, you don't know whether you can accelerate differently, so it's all a bit of a new learning curve. We're coming up to one of my favourite corners now, in the old M4 anyway. In this one we hit it at a different speed altogether, 200 miles an hour plus. This is the corner just here, and it's hang on there, keep going, still flat out. You can see the accelerator is still flat to the floor, and then you've got to brake hard coming up to this major right hand turn, heading up towards a bit of the old banking on the old track, which is a left. You've got to get down on the banking a bit to get the slingshot effect out, which I've kind of done, but not perfectly. I think the car's too wide. Now this is probably the hardest sequence of corners for this car here, because it just goes too fast, and you need to slow down or brake or do whatever you do to get around corners. But I know I'm still 100 miles an hour or something through there, but it feels like the car wants to go so much faster. And these corners as well, I'm being cautious on the grounds that I haven't put it in the ditch yet, so I don't want to ruin the lap. Sorry about that, I had to concentrate for a moment. This car was designed by a guy called Tony Southgate for Jaguar to race in these Le Mans and Daytona series. And it's 1988, so it's quite an old vehicle. Or design anyway, but it's, whoa, keep my mind on the road. But it still goes really well. I mean, the V12 is magnificent. Nice little series of corners here. This is always the tricky one. I have to slow right down for this one to make sure I get this and this next left without flying off into the gravel pit there. A bit of old banking coming up again, and very soon we'll be going into the long straight home. And that's one big advantage I know for this car. It's built for long fast straights, because when I touch the brakes at the end, it doesn't move at all. The M4 had to be very careful on the brakes at the end before taking a left and then a slight right and then a left again before going into the last series of right-handed corners. But this one, solid as a rock. I could probably do a lot more than I am doing at the moment because I just don't know the car well enough. But just here, no problem. Take it around these corners and brake at the last minute, and it's all good. And I'm well impressed with this car. I'm looking to get another like similar car, but more modern, to see how it compares. There you go. That's it for now, and I hope you enjoyed that little 5-minute trip around.